everybody, welcome back to Tavern Talks. I am your wonderful host and barkeep for the evening, and tonight do I have a treat for you. So, at 2024, we decided we were going to offer guests three options that they could be able to choose from in order to bring the most exciting and most influential way of telling their story to the stream. And tonight is our first opportunity to do World Guide, or Tour Guide is the best way to say it. And Erthos, or Ben, has offered the opportunity to be that guinea pig, as we will say. And he's going to tell us about his world. He's going to tell us about the area that he's going to place us in. And then I am going to get off of whatever transport he puts me on, and I'm going to walk around. And when I walk around, I'm going to ask questions. And this is where he's going to enjoy himself and tell me about the land that he's in, or that I'm in. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to Erthos Creations. So Ben, let them know who you are, what you do, where they can find you.
Hi guys, thank you for having me and letting me be a guinea pig. I always love being experimented on. I'm Erthos Creations, Benjamin, as my mother calls me, or my full name, which I'm not going to reveal because who wants to reveal their full name? I've been a DM for about a decade now. I started in 3.5 when I got my very first monster manual because I like the pretty pictures. And I started reading Forgotten Realms novels, and that made me love world building. And that's primarily what I do nowadays. I DM for a couple homebrew games at home. I did a little bit of Twitch streaming for a while, but now I pretty much just post on Instagram and TikTok my homebrew monsters, kind of writing prompts that I do because I want to be a writer someday and try and introduce people to my world, Erthos, with my very creative name of Erthos Creations. So happy to be here.
Excellent. So Erthos is going to explain to us what Erthos is. So what is your world? What is it? What is the premise of it? What is some like unique ability or features of it that kind of break it down to a big scale?
So the first thing to understand about my world is many years ago when I first started playing D&D, I had a giant map of 3 continents with a whole bunch of stuff and little itty bitty blurbs on Google Drive of this massive world. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I said to myself, hey, my players don't know anything about this world. I barely know anything. I don't have time to flesh out 3 whole continents and go crazy. So I took that Google Doc, I deleted it, and just started fresh. So my world of Erthos is 437 years old. It is a brand new world in the terms of kind of fantasy. There are no big, kingdoms there. Yeah, it's a brand new world. All the settlements are kind of small and out of the way from one another, and it's still being explored. Of course, I decided, hey, it's no fun for players playing in a world where it's like, hey, you have to build a mud hut. So I had to figure out 2 ways of kind of combating this to provide a D&D experience that the players would enjoy, of dungeon delving, exploring, finding new things, and finding old things. So I kind of made it where my world had 2 ages so far. The mortal age, where the mortal races came into existence 437 years ago. Some humans, dwarves, halflings, and other races literally pretty much just appeared. They crawled out of the river. They did whatever. The dwarves came out of the ground because they were created by spirits, the beings from before, the spirit age. And if we have any... what's that movie? Keanu Reeves, isn't it? Why can't I remember the name of that movie?
The Matrix?
Now? The Matrix, yes. The idea that I came up with is essentially the spirits consumed all of the essence in the world, the basic building blocks, and they needed a way of making more. So they created the mortal races to act as batteries. As a human goes through his life, does adventurous stuff, grows and ages. They build up this essence within them, they die, and they move on to the next world where this essence is, there's more of it now. So it was kind of a weird thing to start completely fresh after using my quote unquote world for many years and then just being like, okay, I want to start completely fresh. And I've been playing this world for about 4 years now, and I'm still only really using one region.
Okay.
One very small part of the map, Earador. It's probably the most fleshed out. I have the most towns, settlements, the most things on the map. There are 4 kind of quadrants of the world.
Mm-hmm.
The other 4 don't have anything yet, really, that I know about.
So that's probably where we're going to start tonight. Like, I'm not planning on dropping into some random area that has nobody around and to find out that there's this massive creature that's going to eat my face. Like, I just don't want to do that.
So one of the reasons I did it this way is so in case you did drop into a random place, I would have no idea. And it would be a great experiment as a DM to create something on the fly or have my players create something. So yeah, we're dropping into Earador because there's actually stuff there that I know about.
Awesome.
I don't want to drop into a place where I know nothing about because we both could be eaten alive.
Right, exactly. So I like this concept, and I really think it's an interesting concept compared to what most people are seeing. Is you're starting this at a very young age. This is the introduction of civilization. This is the introduction of language. But at the same time, it sounds like almost post-apocalyptic. So you're getting the abilities, you're getting all that knowledge and that basis out of the way. So they have all those backup things that you need, like, understanding how to build civilizations, how to play with magic, those types of fun things. But you're pushing it so that they need to start and do it now, not they've got kingdoms that have been growing for millennia and years and years and years, all that fun stuff. So I really like the concept. So we're going to dive into Earador now. So Earador is in the bottom, the southeastern corner of the map, right?
Southwestern
corner of the map. Okay. Southwestern corner of the map. And what is a weird or a unique transportation in your world? Do you have any yet? Or am I going to be dropped down by the spirits themselves?
So there are ships, there's stuff like that, but there's no spaceship stuff like that. But the really big thing in my world is it's a globe. The material plane is a globe, and then the eternal domain where the spirits now reside. Think of it like the rings of Saturn, just all around it.
Okay.
And there are portals that connect the material plane with the eternal domain.
Okay.
So there are constantly creatures coming through that can either be good guys or bad guys.
Right.
The reason I did this is because I write in this world. I do my own writing, and hopefully someday, knock on wood, a short story will be published. But obviously, I can't use Wizard of the Coast's stuff. So I still wanted to be able to be like, oh, here's a strange monster from the other dimension that Wizard of the Coast controls.
Right. And I just remember, of course, those are the SRD, so you have all these opportunities to use those types of creatures. They can't touch. Just let them know. They can't touch you for it.
Well, for now, knock on wood.
Yeah. Skeletons, goblins, orcs, those types of things. Like, they're not wizards. In all honesty, let's just break that puzzle piece up. They're not Wizards of the Coasts. They've been around for ages. They're being pulled from folklore. Like, leave it alone.
So I would say you come through one of the portals.
Okay.
That's the easiest way into the world as a traveler from a different dimension.
And as the portal opens and I walk out of it, where am I standing?
You're most likely, you are standing on the Isle of Mystrium, the Island of Wizards.
Okay.
It was kind of one of the first places to really have a little civilization to it, because the wizards were taught by some of the spirits to hone magic to help mankind, help all the races grow. So it's just a small little island in the middle of Vortex Lake, a very dangerous lake. There are tornadoes, there are whirlpools that open up, and for some reason the wizards decide to dwell there.
It's protected. If you think about it, it's not a bad option, because you can be like, all of the magic and all of the stories and all that stuff can be hidden behind all that, and the rest of you can go away. Uh, so
Exactly. Because the wizards, there are very few conflicts in my world so far.
Okay.
The wizards have been involved in all of them because they have to be. So, as a new person to the realm, you've walked into the Village of Libraries. A portal has opened, and you walk into the Village of Libraries, kind of where the apprentices begin to learn and begin their journeys to hopefully become wizards or fail. It's a relatively small village, but it has over a dozen libraries in it.
Okay.
Probably the biggest place of learning.
So if I walk off, I step onto the ground for the first time out of this portal, and I look around. What are some of the things I'm spotting as I'm just kind of glancing, looking around in the Village of Libraries?
So the very first thing you would spot is probably the Ruckus Tavern, the Toasted Scholar. It's known for the 3 levels of the inn where everyone tends to gather to try and relax after their studies. The first 2 levels are the drinking areas, the smoking areas, and then the 3rd level has little private cubicles where they can enjoy some food, some wine, while still studying and hopefully not being distracted by the shenanigans below.
Okay. So I like this because this breaks us down into an area that is mainly, and it blends so well with your concept, right? Your concept is that you're a young civilization that is learning very quickly in almost this rapid pace. And what better way to do it than to shove people through years of books in like minutes? I wouldn't say minutes, but definitely read all day, drink all night. Perfect. Sounds like a wonderful place to live. If as long as it would pay me to do all that, read all day, drink all night, I'm game. I'd be in heaven. That might be my heaven.
One of the things I love about this kind of style is that it gives me a chance to, as we're talking right now, I've never thought about how is it funded and how is it done. And so, just talking with my players, exploring, since it's very new, even to me, I can come up with stuff quickly. You said, as long as I get paid. There are probably 2. Have you ever read the In the Name of the Wind?
I have not.
Oh, great. I think originally some of the concept of this village came from that book series of...
But I do know we have a lot of people that listen to this over time that love books. So can you repeat that so I can add that to our little blurb of things?
The In the Name of the Wind. It's the first book of the series, the King Killer Chronicles, I believe, is the name of the series.
I've heard of that.
Amazon's doing a adaptation of it, I believe.
Okay.
And they will probably beat the story before the 3rd book comes out because that author is exactly like George R.R. Martin. Can't write, can't finish his book series.
Can't do it fast.
Yeah, a bunch of people know it in chat. That's great.
Yeah.
I think my kind of original inspiration for the Village of Libraries came from that series. In that series, They have a university where people come to study. And the big thing about it is everyone's tuition in there is different. It's based on merit. If you're very smart, you have a lower tuition. But if you're rich, you might have a bigger tuition because they're like, hey, you get the chance to study here.
Right.
So Kavarth, the main character of that book series, actually got paid to go because he was so smart. He somehow got them to pay him to go there. And I think that's something you would get done. You would show up at the Village of Libraries. They'd be like, holy crap, you're so smart. Here's some money to continue your studies and hopefully become a wizard like us.
Excellent. So because my curiosity is now sparking, is like, what happens if I didn't want to be a wizard?
If you didn't want to be wizard.
Your class, because the way I'm hearing it right now is like, if you, let's say you have a party of people coming into the library of wizard or Village of Libraries, and you're starting your party off, and half of your party doesn't play casters. So how does that kind of warp into the training of like, how did they get trained if everybody's being trained to be a wizard?
So that's a good question. Thank you. If I am starting a campaign here and everyone's tied to the island, the beautiful thing is the island isn't just inhabited by the wizards.
Okay.
There is a bard college because obviously bards study. There's a dwarven mine because the wizards need rare ore, crystals, stuff like that to do their magic. So there's a tribe of dwarves who lives on that island as well. And then not only that, but wizards are great. Wizards are one of my favorite classes, but let's be real. If an army attacks and, comes, you want some melee fighters. There are the arcane shields, warriors who are trained to defend the island and trained to defend the wizards.
Have you ever seen Harry Potter? They didn't need a single one. They just straight up just made their own.
Well, that's true, but let's face it, the entire evil army in Harry Potter got defeated by a bunch of school children and like 5 wizards.
Yeah, correct. 100% is definitely a little off on that one. But just out of joking aside, no, I'm not making fun of his world in any way, shape, or form. It's an interesting thought process to me because the idea is that everybody should be smart and a wizard and things like that, and then all of a sudden you start bringing in these extra classes, the things that D&D is built under, and it becomes this unique twist now. So I will, because you've asked me to, and it sounds like a fantastic opportunity, I will be a wizard. So I will be paid to come to this school because why the hell not? And I am going to be, I will take my drink, I will head to the 3rd floor of the tavern, I will pull out my book, and what am I reading?
So there are a bunch of different libraries inside the village. I only have like 3 of them so far, actually like written out.
Yeah.
But you can pretty much find any sort of library there, like the Library of Alchemy, but the main library is the Library of Fundamentals, where the very basic magic is taught to the people. And then once you start studying a little bit, once you kind of, work your way up and the teachers there are wizards who teach the apprentices as they see, you start to hone in on what you like and kind of what you would really want to specialize in as a wizard. There are 3 orders of wizards on this island. The Order of Creationists, which are made up of a lot of artificers, people who like to develop new spells, and kind of the people who, just like to tinker a lot. This also has the most dwarven wizards in it. Then the Order of Sages, the people who like to study, the people who like to figure out the history. They're often involved with figuring out the diplomatic situations of Earador. They are trained to go to the different regions of Earador and help the civilizations grow. Every major town has a sage wizard there who advises the lords, the nobles, and helps them advance. Except for one city. There's the one city in Earador. All the other ones are towns and villages that does not have any of the Order of Sages there. And then the last one is the Order of Voyagers. They're the wizards who get their hands dirty. They're the ones who are splunking into the ancient tombs that have cropped up from the Spirit Age. They're the ones who, when the Council of Mages is like, hey, we noticed that there's a exile necromancer working his way through one of the regions. We need a group of people to go deal with it. Most likely an Order of Voyagers wizard is part of that party.
Excellent. So what I'm hearing now, this is super exciting, and I'm gonna kind of break this down for the chat, is that yes, the world is new, but there is ancient stuff here in the world, which makes the adventuring so much more, enjoyable. So my interest now kicks in is this something that, are there creatures or are there things, without spoiling, because if you have players in here, I don't want to spoil too much, that lasted from the spirit realm or from the spirit age?
Yes.
Okay.
There are most of like the major spirits, the god level ones, or the ones that you would think of kind of like the demon lords of the abyss, stuff like that, were essentially forced to the eternal domain.
Right.
I haven't really explored that.
Things smaller than that, though, might have stayed within the material plane and are roaming the other areas. Okay,
they might be trapped in a tomb, or they might just be on the road. You might literally find a beholder on the road who, has come out of hiding to attack. And I did that because I wanted there to be stuff to find. I wanted there to be ancient tombs to explore.
Yeah.
That's some of the love of D&D.
Exactly. No, that was the thing I was really trying to hit at, is that's the case, right? Like, that's what you wanted to have happen, is you want to give players things that they can go hunt for, they can go search for, maybe they can learn things like that, where there is this sense of unknown still there. Like you said, the place is only 435 years old, but it's not really. There's an indefinite time frame before this, but we don't know what that was, and we don't really care what that was, because in a mortal realm, it's all the farther we've gotten so far. Awesome. So I've done my drinking. I've picked up my book of, we'll do voyaging. I picked up a book on the locations just outside of the town of libraries. What are some of the things I am reading when I'm going through understanding like the outskirts of the village of libraries?
So fortunately, the Isle of Mysterium is pretty well explored at this point. The wizards being incredibly curious, explored.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They are still finding stuff in their land because there's a mountain range. But the Voyagers focus mostly on the outside world. And one of the big places that they are kind of tasked with this century to explore is the land of the wilds. The almost completely unexplored land of Earador. Because the humans, the dwarves, the elves have not made it out that far yet. It's kind of my place to build more in a world that I can already build through.
Excellent. So we're going to dive deep. Like, I don't know if you're ready for this. This is what my thought process is behind it. We're going to dive deep. So I'm walking out of the 3rd floor and I'm walking down to the 2nd floor. What am I seeing of the tavern? So describe me what I'm looking at.
The 2nd floor is a kind of a ringed floor with an opening that can see down into the 1st floor. The main vantage being the open area of the 1st floor where the bar is, and kind of like a dance floor. I really like the idea of wizards dancing. I don't know why, but that
Wizard's Ball is a huge thing in Harry Potter, so I mean, you might as well.
Exactly.
So,
and also they do wizards. I don't always love the imagery of wizards being old, hunched over people.
Well, you have to get there, right? Like, you can't all be wizards that are 100,000 years old. Like, it just doesn't work like that.
So when you get on the 2nd floor, there are tables that just ring the entire place. This is kind of more the place where the apprentices, the wizards, can sit and eat and enjoy each other's company, while still enjoying the music and the lively atmosphere of the 1st floor.
So if I'm hearing this right, you've got an open floor in the 1st floor. You've got this ring, which is kind of like a balcony on the 2nd floor.
Exactly.
And then it blocks off so that the 3rd floor is much more quiet and secluded comparatively.
The beauty of it is the wizards have magic. They have silent spells. They make it so the 3rd floor is silent.
That's awkwardly sexual dancing. No, I am not. I'm not going to awkwardly sexual dance. But yeah, no. I am a 6 foot male white guy who does not know how to dance. So no, it's not happening. I'm gonna do what I'm doing what they tell you to do. I'm gonna do the one of these, and that's all I'm gonna do. Is I'm just gonna stay right here where I'm supposed to stay, and that's
Sometimes a little staying alive.
Yeah, they'll stand left. You know,
I imagine that disco is very popular.
I mean, you would think it could be with wizards, and then if you've got like wands and stuff, like every time you do this, you shoot off something, and it's like a Roman candle.
Little pyrotechnics, yeah.
Right. Okay, so I've walked down the stairs. I've looked around. It seems like the music's popping. I've got people sitting around, eating, having a good time, talking, that kind of thing. I'm gonna take my happy butt down the second set of stairs to the first floor, and this is where the dance floor is broken out. This is where the bar is immaculate. This is where everybody's having a good time. And I'm gonna walk right out that front door. What am I looking at as I stare straight out that front door?
So you're looking at the Village of Libraries. That is just, it's probably like maybe 30 or so buildings. Okay. Half of which
What's the building that is right across as I walk out the door?
Ooh, right across.
Yep. Like I said, we're getting deep. Like I'm in your village right now. I'm walking out the door of the tavern. What am I staring at as I look right across the street?
Right across the street is the fountain. Which has a statue of the first mage. The first mage who learned magic directly from the spirit of magic.
Okay.
When he was one of the first humans to be alive, and he learned directly from the spirit of magic. So they have a fountain depicting a statue of him that looks intimidating. I've never thought about what he looks like. One of my groups right now is actually hunting down the tomb of one of his disciples, the original artificer, the first artificer. And I'm thinking they might find in his tomb a little bit of information about the first mage. I've not thought about the first mage at all, except for with this fountain, which depicts him as kind of a severely dressed man in a black robe who just radiates power.
Okay. See, the fun thing I love about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're gonna definitely talk about that, is that the imagery doesn't have to be created. That's the great thing about it, because your imagery of what a mage with black robes and exudes power could look extremely different from mine. Me personally, I'm envisioning the GM costume that I was placed in the original D&D, or in our original stream, but put black robes on him and he's super cool. But that's just because I am conceited as all heck. No worries there.
He could just be me, yeah.
It could just be you, like, right? You could just be you. In black robes with that glorious beard, and look at that hair, and I don't get that anymore. See, no hair. So even has the headphones on, like, you know it's him. You're like, holy shit. No. But yeah, so we're looking at this fountain, and this is just depicting that sense of power, right? And then as I'm glancing from one side to the other, what am I seeing on the left side of the fountain now? Well, like if I'm walking into the town, like where are we at? Like let's kind of break this down so that the rest of the audience understands this. Is like I'm staring straight out from the tavern, but I have things to my left, I have things to my right. Am I in like a corner area, or am I on the side of a street and there's buildings next to me? Like what are we looking at here?
So you are in the dead center of the village. The Toasted Scholar is the focal point of the village. The roads that lead out of it all come together in this kind of village center. Also in this village center is the Library of Fundamentals. The largest building. It is a large glass domed building that gets a lot of light, a lot of natural light, and is very open. There's 4 different doorways into it because they have a lot of traffic that goes through there. And
that's to the left or the right of me?
That would be on the left of you.
Okay, so I'm going to walk that way.
Facing the fountain.
So I'm going to walk that way. So I've got on the left of me, I've got the Library of Fundamentals, and that's probably where I got the book from at the beginning, I'm guessing. It's probably where I stopped and grabbed the book. Or I just literally pocketed or walked past somebody and snagged the book and walked upstairs, because that's what I would have done, because I don't know anything about this world, and I was like, hey, this looks interesting, and take somebody's book. Surprised I didn't get in a bar fight, but it's another story in a different time. Although I will say, if we're playing strictly tour guide and I walked in looking like this and everybody else was in robes and all wizard looking, probably wouldn't have even said a word to me, and they just let me take the book and walk upstairs. So
they probably, with a heavy metal bard shirt on, they probably would have been like, oh, this is one of the bards.
That's one of the bards.
They will
we
talk
understand.
your ears off.
Yeah, we don't want to listen to him talk, so we're just going to let him do his thing. Since you did point that out, though, so Heavy Metal Bard is a shirt from Dungeon Grandmaster. They were a sponsor of us last year. They do all sorts of D&D shirts, and I just wanted to give him kind of that little bit of a plug-in right there, because this shirt is awesome. Although I do need a bigger size now, because the gym decided to make me bigger. So anyway, got bigger. So
that does make me think I do need a war mage kind of thing.
Heck yes, you do. I want to be the war mage. I want to be the dude that lifts 300 pounds and can throw fireballs. It's great. I have a couple friends of mine in the chat room that probably would say the same exact thing. So, but yeah, so we're gonna move past. We're gonna walk past the Library of Fundamentals. I'm gonna find the first mage that has no idea who I am, and I'm gonna toss them that book, because it's not my book and it needs to go back to the library. And I'm gonna keep walking. So, what is the next thing I'm seeing on both my left and my right?
So, as you walk past the Library of Fundamentals, on your right is going to be just a bunch of houses of villagers, maybe some boarding houses for the apprentices who's coming, and you can see the harbor out to the left. It's out towards the east.
And this harbor is that harbor that you talked about at the beginning, where there's a whole bunch of crazy crap that's happening, and it's not really a place you want to be at.
It is the only safe port into the Isle of Mystrium. All the other land around the Isle of Mystrium is just a little too dangerous to land on most of the time. Either you'll be hit with a whirlpool, or like there's a mountain range that you'd have to go through. The harbor of the Village of Libraries is the only safe place to land on the island. And then to the right, you would see the roads that would lead out more into the island, where you would begin traveling to one of the Order strongholds. You also see some farmlands as well, because wizards have to eat, people have to eat. You would see the Library of Herbology as well. And then straight ahead, you would see the Chapel of the Chara.
Ooh. I have been intrigued. I will definitely walk towards the Chapel of the Chara. And what does that look like?
So the Chapel of the Chara is a large temple. It's probably can hold most of the residents of the island. The island doesn't have actually too many residents. There are only about 100 wizards who are part of the Order of Magi, who are the people who are actually ordained wizards. And then there are villagers, soldiers, stuff like that. But the chapel is probably the largest space. It can hold everyone on the island in one go. Mm-hmm. Now, not everyone goes there because it's the Chapel of the Chara. The Chara is the name of the gods, the Chara spirits. Those are the spirits who have enough essence to essentially claim godhood. They usually have a portfolio that they hold as their own, like the Chara spirit of nature, Natre. I'm very inventive with my names.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere, man. I'm telling you, I can't say anything because I've legitimately been like, yep, that is nature. Yep, that is fire. Like, I don't try to be fancy on certain times. Sometimes you just gotta go with what you got. So, what's up, Shadow? So yeah, that's kind of one thing where I love to dive into, and you've definitely piqued my interest. So even if I'm trying to find the most interesting things, I'm definitely heading to the Temple of the Temple of Old, right? I'm a huge history buff. I love to go travel the United States and find all the history points. So, as the tour guide here, we're heading in that direction. So I'm gonna walk in, if I'm allowed. Like I'm gonna make sure I'm cleared to do this. Nobody's gonna like smack my hands and tell me go away. You aren't allowed in here. It's forbidden. But the Chara definitely has intrigued me. So as I'm walking in, I mean, what am I walking up to? Like, let's get some full depiction of like what this temple looks like, because it seems like it's a big deal.
See, that's a great thing because my players who've made it to the Isle of Mistrum, who have gone there for one reason or another,
Yeah.
have literally been like, screw the gods. We don't want to know anything about the gods. So I have not really fleshed it out too much.
No worries.
A little bit about it.
So let's, if you don't mind, we can do this. We can break this down right now. So what cultural look are you looking for the Chara?
So I think the very first thing is this is in the Village of Libraries. It is essentially going to be a library in itself. It's going to be a chapel and a library because it's going to serve as a place to worship the Chara spirits, but also to gain knowledge about them. So I would say the very first thing you walk into is kind of a long corridor with just bookshelves.
So we're talking old school library. You're walking in. So I guess what I'm trying to get is I'm really trying to get the depiction of this building, because like it seems like it's a big deal. As I'm walking up to it though, like what am I seeing? Like, are we seeing pillars? Are we seeing just a flat surface? Like the base is, there's pedestals that get to be up to the doorway. What are we looking at here? Are we looking more like cathedral style, like where you would do more like Greek mythology type feel, or are we looking closer to modern looking? I wouldn't say modern. Let's go more colonial style libraries. Like, what is the feel of the outside looking like?
It's definitely more cathedral like.
Okay, so we've got the pillars. We'll probably step up 3 or 4.
Exactly. 3 or 4 steps. There are 2 statues on the outside.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, come on.
So these 2 statues are actually just statues of knighted warriors.
Okay.
Probably paladins, but like most things, they are not what they seem. They're golems. They are meant to protect the village in case people attack. Because you got a bunch of wizards here. Of course they enchant.
Heck yeah. They've got, I've just... So for Christmas time, I always do a Harry Potter marathon, and I'm about to like start go straight off, Professor McGonagall, the school is in danger. Like, let's get these things moving. So
protect the school.
Protect the school. Oh goodness.
So, walking up those stone steps, you would find these great double doors that are just open. They don't really close these doors. Yes. The Village of Libraries, all the libraries are open to anyone who wants to come study, except for if you've proven to be a bad person. If you're like, oh, I want to use this magic to hurt the innocents, then they'll be like, hey, no, you're not allowed here.
Yeah, Voldemort, stay away.
Exactly. And then just walking through those double doors, there's the very first corridor is a very long corridor of bookshelves.
Okay.
Where, you'll most likely be greeted by 1 or 2 priests, clerics, who worship the Chara spirits and who help study.
So all of your divine casters and stuff, they're all connected to the Chara, I'm guessing. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, the Chara. There's
so your clerics, your paladins, your druids, all of that should be pretty much, they're all connected to the Chara spirits in one way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
Excellent.
When I first started designing this world, I did make the druids a little bit more arcane, but I didn't really feel like that really was the right feel for druids. Paladins and even warlocks have connections to
the Chara.
Maybe the Chara spirits, but also the kind of 2 classifications are Chara spirits and Chios spirits.
Okay.
So the Chios.
So is that good and bad, or is that more like big wig and not so big wig.
Big wig and not so big wig.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
One of the things I've started to explore with that, to go off on a completely different tangent, is earlier I mentioned that humans, dwarves, all that are used as batteries to create this essence. They die and go on to the eternal domain. One of the things I've been considering with character death is when they die, they go on to the eternal domain and turn into a spirit. And based on like various things of their life, you know, it's kind of like in D&D, if you're a bad cultist, you die, you go to the abyss, and you get resurrected as a main or a dretch. It's kind of like that. So all humans would potentially turn into a spirit.
Okay.
So the Chio spirits are kind of like, they can be very low level, or they could be almost godhood, demon lord level, powerful angels, stuff like that.
Excellent.
So warlocks and, you know, paladins can serve those things.
Awesome. Yeah, no, this is great. So so like I said, you've got warlocks, you've got pretty much anything other than maybe sorcerer and wizard. Everybody else is connected to the Chara very solidly. But it sounds also like the Chara is not just your deities, but it's also your connection to magic. You know, it's your connection to the arcane. So everything connects to the Chara in one way, shape, or form, is what I'm hearing, unless I'm missing something.
Well, so magic is basically the, you know, arcane magic is the manipulation of the building blocks of reality and stuff like that. So I would say yes, in a way that still does connect to the Chara, because the Chara are masters of that. They are able to influence reality because they can control essence the best. So they definitely help teach humans, elves, dwarves how to do all that as well. But fortunately, wizards are kind of studying on their own as well. They don't have to. They don't have to be like, okay, you're the Chara spirit of magic. I pay homage to you to cast my magic. They often do, because it's a quick way to learn a little bit more. And also, who doesn't like talking to someone more powerful than them?
Heck yeah.
The biggest kind of thing is, in my world, I think that the Chara spirits are a lot more involved than some other worlds' deities. You know, you do often, I love reading the Forgotten Realms books. One of my favorite series, which is right back there, is the Lady Penitent series, which was a side series of the Loth Chronicle kind of things. And the beginning of that has Loth, however you want to pronounce her name, and her daughter playing chess, and each chess piece is immortal. But I don't want that. I want the gods to have a really big hand in the world right now, because they're helping it grow and flourish.
Yeah, and it makes more sense because, like I said, you're at the beginning levels of creation, right? The influence that needs to be done in order for things to get where they need to be, you kind of have to have some influence. Definitely something that if you're in the middle of world building, that's something that you definitely want to think about, is like, how influential is the deity, or is the pantheon of whatever type you're building. You know, if you look at, and this I'm gonna not go on too much of a tangent on this one, but if you look at things like Forgotten Realms, you look at things like Exandria from Critical Role, they're at still arm's length. Like there's still a breakthrough between like the deity and the mortal. Like there's a difference. It's very similar to how you would hear with Greek mythology, Norse mythology, those types of feels. Yours seems more like, I'm gonna hold you, like I'm gonna put my hand on your shoulder, and you're gonna know I'm here, which to me is a much different concept completely, because you have such a more direct connection to that kind of power, and that to me can be very interesting and very dangerous all at once. Just a heads up there. But I'm really interested. So we're walking through the corridor, because I'm gonna get back on track, because I'm walking through. And I'm looking at all these books, and I'm passing the paladin of this Chara spirit. I'm passing the cleric of this Chara spirit, and I'm going to the end. Now, is this just a single corridor that's going to the end, or what am I looking at?
I would say yes, just a single corridor of books. Being a library, they get the very important thing: the book's done. Leads to a double door, which would actually open up to the chapel. The chapel is a large circular chamber with many different alcoves surrounding it. Each alcove is kind of a shrine and altar to one of the Chara spirits. Omnitos just said playing a faith-based character in this world would be very engaging, and that's exactly kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to give my players a chance to actually engage with these powers and feel like they had a connection to their god. And I would say very much, if you go into this chapel and you go to one of the altars, there's a very high chance, if you have a reason to speak to one of the Chara spirits, you will actually hear back from that Chara spirit. It might not be like the voice and the light shining down on
no
you.
That's not even where my head went. Immediately I'm going to Hercules. You're sitting in the temple of Zeus. You walk up, you're talking, and the thing comes alive. Like, I'd be so excited. It would make my day.
I would be terrified.
As a paladin, I would be so excited and terrified all at once. And I know Omnitos is going to back me up on this one. Like, yes, Zeus just wakes up. Exactly. This is exactly what I thought. Like, can you imagine, though, in a world where you could go to a spirit or you could go to a statue that was connecting to a spirit and that thing just alive, like completely moved around, talked to you, put your hand on your shoulder, like, it'd be great. Just saying.
It just makes you feel a lot more connected to the entity that you're worshiping, that you're paying homage to. And I felt like, so one of my players is a paladin. We actually created his spirit is a Chio spirit, so she's one of the lower level, but she's still pretty powerful. We created her together to kind of really get him involved in her, and they just met in game for the first time. And they had a little conversation. Now, I think he's very excited to see how he can move along in that path and kind of for worship. And, instead of just being like, oh yeah, my God told me to go do this thing. He can now be like, I spoke to my God, and we talked a little bit about why she's motivated to do what she does. And she's a very real entity. She's not just, a voice in the sky.
Hey, it could be, it could be the alcohol talking, but I'm so up on the idea of like my mom's better than your mom type feel. Like, I have a feeling if there were two paladins or a paladin and a cleric, this is what's going to happen. Like, my mom will beat up your mom. Like, this is just going to go down. But no, I love this. And I love this idea because it brings the connection to the deity and to the divine so close to the player. And for somebody like yourself who really is in the interest of building an entire world with your players, what better way to do it than to give them that autonomy, right? You're giving them that opportunity to be like, well, what do we do? Like, oh, I'm going to ask this question to my deity. I'm going to ask this. I'm going to ask of this. And then that just gives you all those awesome questions to answer. If do you know what oath they picked, or did you create your own oath for them, for the paladin?
Oh Lord! Luckily, I have access to their D&D Beyond because I don't know. Let's see.
I'm gonna drink. I don't have any alcohol left though. I only poured a small glass.
There you are. View Paladin Oath of. Oh, it disappeared. Why'd you disappear on me? Divine Sacred Oath. Oath of the Crown.
Ooh. Last time I played Oath of the Crown, I dominated an entire world. I'm not allowed to play Oath of the Crown anymore.
I don't know that oath too strong.
So it is the equivalency of like Arthur.
So that actually really works out because The Chio spirit that he kind of worshipped that is connected to his paladin line is a spirit of safe journeys, a spirit of guiding, and that kind of really works out. It's his own little Merlin.
Yeah, there you go. No, yeah, while I was in the military, I was in Korea, and they let me play a dragon. So the world hated dragons, and I was like, I want to play something that's challenging. So I played a dragonborn who was the crown, who had an oath of the crown, and my goal was literally to go around and assimilate bandit camps, and then have them pledge allegiance to my character. And that's way that I literally by the end of the game had a small army with me. It was fantastic.
Take over the world.
Yeah, it was.
That would probably absolutely decimate my world. You would probably take over because my world's all very separate. The Isle of Mystrium does connect all the places, but like the regions do have centralized power bases.
Yeah,
but it's not like like one kingdom. There aren't kingdoms, so one kingdom can't be like, oh my god, this new paladin showed up with an army of bandits. Oh, come help us, other kingdom. They'd be like, oh shit, we're screwed.
Yeah, that character was ruthless, but he was great because he was actually a very nice character, and the idea was like as long as I could kill the boss, he would just let everybody make their decision. Like, you choose. You can either walk away and go back to your day, and as long as I don't see you killing anybody anymore, we're good to go. Or you can stay here and get armored up and move on with us. And I think I ended up with like 45 bandits, 2 half ogres. It was ridiculous the amount of stuff I had. Because we also had a barbarian that would be like the muscle. So anytime I wouldn't be able to charm them like with paladin abilities, they would flex, and then sooner or later we'd pull them anyways. So it was great. It's a good time. We had a great little crew there. And they thought it was funny because the idea was that everybody was connected through this wizard who gave them rings and all that stuff.
Yep.
And then the first time I put the ring on, I rolled a natural 20 for my save, and the ring shattered, and I was like, oh, that's a ring of domination. Well, I'm not wearing that no more.
Oh, damn.
And I was like, and I threw the ring. I was like, so the first time I was never supposed to know what this ring was. And my god came back and was like, yeah, you don't wear those. You don't have that opportunity. You don't have that requirement to be dominated. You're owned by us. And I was like, so I just tossed the ring away.
Nope,
it was great. It was a good time. But yeah, no. So, oh man, I'm running out of time too. So for the last 5 minutes, I'm going to continue to dig through the story, but then I'm going to give about 15 minutes max. I don't want to give too much more. If you, as somebody in the chat room, have a question about his area, we're going to go Earador. We're not going to go any farther than Earador.
Because I don't know anything else.
Exactly. I'm not diving deep into this one right now. Put that in the chat room and we'll ask the question, because it just sounds like a lot of fun. So I'm stepping out. I'm gonna do a tour guide thing. So I checked out the entirety of the Temple of Chara, and I'm walking out, and I'm looking into the distance. What am I seeing like after the temple?
So after the temple, just if you're looking as you exit the temple, you would just see the woods and the mountains of the island.
Anything that would catch my eye?
Probably the biggest thing that would catch your eye would be a small pathway that is lined with torches. This leads through the forest.
Okay.
And as someone who's studying on this island, you would know that it leads to a cave where the test of the Magi happens. This one is kind of somewhat where I drew a little bit of inspiration from this from the Star Wars when Luke goes into the swamps. Also from Dragonlance, where every person who reaches a certain level has to take a test. I would say this is not so much a test of kind of like pushing them to the extreme, stuff like that. It is more just a test to help them discover what they want. It's not meant to be particularly grueling. It's not meant to be particularly traumatic. It's more, hey, you've just spent so-and-so years studying. You think you're ready for this to join the Council of Maggie. You want a space, but first you have to discover what lies within you.
Interesting. So to your left, there is the group of torches that'll lead you to a cave that makes it so that you understand life. This is kind of where we're going with this. And at this point, I'm walking through, the portal opens, and I walk back through the portal, and I return to the tavern where I've been for many, many years. And I sit down with a drink, and I ponder about this new world that I've seen and what it could mean in the long run and what it could mean in the connection. And while I'm pondering, this is where I'm going to ask these questions. So one of the questions that's been presented is, have you considered a faction within the city that has a very strong penchant for banning certain books in an attempt to control power? You would have to ask these types of questions on me. Like, brutal. This is where we're starting tonight. Okay.
So I've not considered banning books. Being a lover of books, that would probably destroy my heart. One of the campaigns that I'm running does have an organization, a kind of shadow organization based partially on the island. They're members of the Order of Creationists. They were originally the disciples of Krare, the first artificer creation, and they were tasked with guarding his more powerful artifacts in the world. The artifacts that he created, like the boots of elven kind.
Yeah,
but those are too
weapons.
dangerous. But then he created, the sphere of a black hole. Something like that. So they were originally tasked with protecting these items, but then elements got into the group, which took over it, killed most of the founding members, most of the people who were actually doing good, and are now partially xenophobic, partially wanting to get their hands on all the artifacts so they can control everything. And they are currently searching for his tomb, which is not on the island. Him being a very smart wizard was like, hey, it's probably not a great idea for me to all my stuff where people can get it.
Awesome.
So the party has been tracking down the way to get to his tomb. So no banning books, because that would break my heart.
Yeah.
But they do control magic items and are trying to take control of the island.
So maybe not banning books, and I'm going to kind of caveat to this. What he's saying here is maybe is there the opposite to the wizards group here? Like, is there somebody that's going the exact opposite way? Like, magic is bad, we don't want it around, or is this a very common thing where everybody understands that magic is a good thing, magic is helpful, magic is creation, that kind of thing? Like, have you thought through that portion yet?
I would definitely say not in this region, because magic is such a big part of everyone's life. There are barbarians in this part of the world. The Eastern Plains does have the first tribes of humans, the barbarians, but even they highly value magic because it has helped them survive. When humans first started, emerging, when dwarves started emerging, they were faced with many challenges. Spirits who still reside in the world who wanted to eat them and devour them.
Yeah.
And magic was, swords and spears, which they quickly learned how to build, were useful. Magic was the one thing that really protected them. So in this part of the world, magic is very, very highly sought after and very respected. The beauty is I have 3 other regions of the world that I don't know anything about yet, really. I have very little idea. So maybe maybe the northeastern part of the world does have something like that where they hate magic and eventually they will come down and attack this highly magical realm.
Yeah, sounds
So,
exciting. And hopefully
Omnitos,
one day we'll
Omnitos,
hear
I'll
about
credit
it.
you with that if I do ever write that. I'll put a little with the book of that. I'll just be like, thank you to Omnitos, that user on Twitch.
There we go. Look at that. This is how we build our community right here. So thank you. And really, it worked wonders. This was kind of something I was really excited about doing. So Tour Guide was built so that you could walk through somebody's world and not just walk in the high level of it, but to walk their steps, and you walking me through the town of, or the village of libraries was so interesting, and you had everything blended well. I'm really excited to continue this series as we continue. And I don't know everybody's going to do it. I think it's going to be a very few amount. But when they do, I think the world building growth that's going to come from this is going to be not only exciting for the person that's going to be talking with me on it. I think as we listen, each of us is going to pick up little things, and these worlds are going to start to blend. And I think when they blend, it's going to feel so cool because you're going to know that you pulled this from a friend of yours, you pulled this from a community member, and you're able to then show that respect and that appreciation for them in your own world. Erthos did not know I was going to do this, so I'm going to throw a curveball at him, but it's not really a curveball. We've talked about this. And since we have a decent crew in the chat room tonight, I want to know a question. Both of us met at PAX U. We both picked up something called the Zero Session System. The Session Zero System. Yeah. Anyway. We have talked about doing an Instagram Live every other week or so for probably a half hour max. It's not going to take us very long. Where we're going to break down this system. We're going to roll dice. We're going to create characters. We're going to create ideas and worlds. If anybody is interested in this and you're willing to help us grow with this, just give me a shout out in the chat room. And then if you want to do a little bit extra, and I know last year we didn't really do this a lot, but if you could go onto our Instagram and tag and share out this specific number, it says Erthos, welcome to Earador. It means so much to us, and it helps us grow, and it helps our community get bigger. But specifically for this book here, we've talked about doing a couple little shorts on it. So if it's something you're interested, definitely let me know. So let's see here. Oh, you run with it. Collaborative talk is so helpful for me. I agree 100%. So, and I'm hoping, I'm sure Erthos is going to say the same thing on his channel is that, as we try to do these growth portions, my goal this year in the Tavern, and I haven't said this yet, but my growth this year in the Tavern is to support as many creators and as many creations out there as I can. This is why we've stepped away from running 3 or 4 streams on the channel. This is why we've stepped strictly to focusing on creation in the Tavern. And my goal this year is to put as many eyes on as many people within our community as we absolutely can. And the only way we can do that is with help from you guys. So if you're willing to help us, please share, connect, tag as much as you can, and we will continue to do the same. That's all I have tonight. Erthos, once again, thank you for just bringing your world here to the Tavern. It was so cool to just venture through it and the uniqueness of it that I've never heard before. I'm really excited to see where it goes, and hopefully, maybe we might do something as people start bringing their worlds to the game. We might say, hey, let's put a charity stream together. Let's put something cool together where we can show off these worlds and we can show off these game masters that do amazing jobs. So how can they find you? Let's give you that plug that you deserve.
Thank you. Arthur's Creations on Instagram and TikTok. That's where I'm probably the most active. I prefer Instagram. I like Instagram so much better because you can share pictures, videos, and I just find, I met you through Instagram. Yep. I've met a lot of great people through Instagram, and I just feel like TikTok's great. I've met some really cool people through TikTok, but I also feel like Instagram just feels a lot more I don't want to use the word wholesome because that makes TikTok seem so scuzzy. But I just, yeah, Instagram. Hit me up on Instagram. I'm always down to talk. I love sharing stuff. I love seeing people's stuff. Thank you for allowing me to come on here, man.
Yeah,
It was
definitely.
great.
Awesome.
And I like this series a lot because, you know, oftentimes with world building, you sit down and you think about the places. But I think it would be really cool on a personal level, and all creationists out there, all people who not creationists, that's a weird term, but all people who do world building, do this. You know, take a tour of your own world, walk through it, just like you've kind of done today.
Yeah,
So
it was a
thank you
lot
for
of
the
fun.
opportunity.
No,
It's given me a
definitely.
lot
I'm
of
hoping we
great
get more
ideas.
of them. Like I said, I'm hoping a lot of people will come in and they'll think that, we've done over the last year, we've done normal interviews, we've done product interviews. Last year we started implementing character interviews where you're entering in and you're telling us a story as a character. What cooler now to then add additional spin to that and add world interviews? This is where we're seeing people's worlds for the first time. And a lot of these people, I hate to say this, a lot of these people will never be able or never show off their world otherwise. And to me, that is a dissatisfaction to both them and a disservice to them, because everybody has an amazing world and everybody comes up with unique things that you would never have thought of. So hopefully this just continues to grow that opportunity for people. So I am, of course, your tavern keeper, your barkeeper, your game master, whatever you want to call me, lore keeper, any of those fun names. I am Tabletop Misfits. This is my tavern. This is where I come tell stories with friends and family, is what I call them nowadays, I swear. Come join us every week on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Twitch. And keep an eye out because our newest project is about to launch on Gen Con TV here in 2 weeks. So keep an eye out on all of the social medias for that. I hope we have a huge turnout for that, and I'll see you guys soon next week on Tavern Talks. Good night.